Thank you for joining this mini webinar about P6 Scrubber and doing roll downs with P6 Scrubber. P6 Scrubber is a tool that Emerald has developed that will help you clean or scrub your projects prior to import into your working database. So with that, we are doing some mini webinars on some of our tools, and this one is going to cover roll downs in using P6 Scrubber. My name is Sue Vermilia, and I am based in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I am an implementation specialist for Emerald. I've been working with projects for many, many years now with all types of industries and all types of projects. Joining me to do the heavy lifting is Valerie Nicholson, or Val. She is an implementation specialist that joined us about 10 years ago, and she's done a variety of work as well in the P6 Primavera environment. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got, and I'll let Val take over.
Thank you, Sue. All right. So this is what you first see when you have the P6 Scrubber set up. It does work based out of a web application, or sorry, your web browser, not web application. You can see here we have a login screen. I'm going to use the same credentials that I use in our P6 database in order to log in. So this is going to allow you to just use the exact same credentials. You don't have to worry about making new ones. It's right here. P6 Scrubber doesn't actually connect up to, well, it does connect to our P6 database, but it's not uploading any information directly into it. So it is going to use your credentials, but you don't have to worry about accidentally changing anything in P6 with this tool. All right, so this is what you see when you log in. And you can see there are a bunch of different selections on the left for different information that you can touch with this tool. What we first need to do to make the tool work is first thing we're going to want to do is import a file. So often what Scrubber is used for, there are other uses, but this is kind of a big one here, is when you have files from a contractor and they are sending you files and you're going to bring those files into your P6 database, but you don't know what information is in those files necessarily. And what we're going to be focusing on today is rolling down some of that information. We're going to be rolling down activity codes, and we're going to be rolling down calendars as well. So if you have these files from a contractor, and they have these codes, and you don't want these codes accidentally polluting your code database. They have calendars. Obviously, you need calendars to be assigned in activities in P6, and you don't want those calendars accidentally populating your global calendars, or even worse, potentially overwriting them. What you're going to want to do is you can use the Scrubber to deal with those. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to import a file. So to import a file, you just go into the bottom of the screen. There's a little button here for importing files. We're going to select a file. Here it is. I'm going to take that file and import it into the tool. And what this is doing is just reading the information in this file. It's going to tell you a bunch of information about what you're bringing in with this file. It's telling me that there are 22 codes in here. There are 57 user-defined fields, 82 different code values within these code types. We have resources, roles, calendars, notebooks, cost accounts. Well, again, what we're going to be focusing on in this specific webinar is going to be on some of these codes and some of these calendars. So again, the tool can hit multiple different things, but what we're going to be focusing on here is just relating to these code values and to these calendars. There will be other webinars coming up that will touch on some of these other topics, especially resources that can be pretty interesting. But for now, we're just going to focus on the roll downs. So once that file is brought in, you're going to see at the top here, it tells you what your file is. It's going to give you its name. It's going to give you its ID. And now that's when we go into these definitions and we can go and make changes to this file. Now, again, there's a lot of interesting things you can do in here. You can see there are a bunch of different options in here. Project codes, UDFs, ID, activities, resources, calendars, notebooks. So you can do a lot with this file. Again, we're just going to be focusing on the roll downs today. So there's two different places you can go to be able to quickly roll down the activity codes or the calendars in this specific file. I'm going to show you specifically in the activity section and the calendar section first, and then I will show you the simple scrub feature. The simple scrub contains quite a few different options, but we're going to take a look at that in a second. Let's first focus on this activity section. I'm going to go into codes here. So what we're seeing here is a list of all the codes that are, again, in this specific file. So again, if I was bringing this in from a contractor, these are my contractor's codes, and I need to decide whether I want these codes brought in as is, whether I want to delete them completely from this file. That way, again, that's the safest way to kind of get them all out of the file and not have to worry about bringing any of them into your database. But the other option we can do is rolling these down. What that's going to do is it's going to take these global activity codes, it's going to put them down to the project level. And that way, when you import this file, they're already on the project level. These activity codes are not going to be populating your global activity code dictionary. They're just going to stay on the project at the project level, going to stay within that project, not going to be affecting anything else here. So you can see there's a lot we can do in here. And again, we're going to have different webinars explaining some of the other facets of this tool. What we're going to focus on is this little roll down column on the right side of the screen. You can see here right now it says roll down no. And we can see in the scope right now it says that some of these are global level and some of these are project level. So for stage, work type, specs, and work order, we would roll those down. They're already project level codes, activity codes. But for these globals, work type, discipline, this week number here, and this P6 scrub, those ones are global level. So if I wanted to only roll down, for example, work type and discipline, I could do that in here. I would go into this little roll down column, double click on the no, and you'll get a little check mark. When you click this check mark, it's going to roll that code down. So you can pick and choose which ones you want to roll down here. If I only wanted to roll down certain codes, perhaps I know that these codes share names with some of the codes that I already have in my activity code dictionary. Maybe I want to only roll these ones down. Maybe I want to roll all of them down, in which case I would select each one, and then all of these would roll down. To do this, you do have to enable the section that you want to use. So if I kept this disabled, even if I made changes in this roll down section, the scrubber would ignore them. So whenever, just for safety purposes, we make sure that all of these different validations and changes you can make are turned off by default. You do have to manually go and turn them on, again, just to make sure that this is actually what you want to do. It's just another way of double checking here. There's also this roll down extra code type section. What this would do is, say I got rid of all of these codes here from this selection. I just clicked this little garbage icon and removed them all. It's just taking a few clicks here. There we go. Say I removed all of these. It's just taking a few clicks for some reason. There we go. If I click this roll down extra code types, what this is going to do is anything not in this selection here, even if there are, codes in here, what this is going to say is if they are not in this list, if I have not specified what to do with them, roll down all of them. So that's what this would do here. So you can apply this to other projects, even if you haven't imported them first. And if they had extra codes that were not, again, in this list here, and you can see I got rid of all of them in this example. If the tool doesn't see a code specified in the list, it will automatically roll it down. It's just going to say, okay, that's not a code that I'm recognizing in this list. Let me just roll it down automatically. So that's what this will do here. You can do the same thing in the calendars. The calendars looks a little bit different. You can see when I click on the calendars option here, we have global calendars, project calendars, and resource calendars. So if I click on global calendars here, you're going to get, again, a list of all the calendars here. You can see standard 5-day work week, for example, 5-day, just some global calendars in here. So I can choose to roll these down. This is more simple. We have just a roll down action we can do here. This says either do not roll it down or roll it down. So we can just roll down any of these calendars we want to roll down. If we don't want to roll any of them down, we don't have to. We can just leave it as is, and the scrubber won't touch those. Again, you do have to enable this. Anything in the scrubber does have to be enabled just to make sure that you don't accidentally do something that you weren't intending to do. So those are the two sections that we're going to look at: activities in the codes, and then calendars in that global section. With project calendars, you can view them, but you can't really do anything with them in here specifically. They're already at the project level. You can't roll them down because they're already rolled down. Okay, so that's if you want to pick and choose, if you want some codes to stay at the global level and others to stay at the project level, you would use this little activity code section. If you want to do the same thing with global calendars, you wanted to roll some of them down and leave others, you go into this calendar roll down section and enable that here. However, what if I want to just do the same action for all of the codes or all of the calendars? Say I don't want to pick and choose. I don't want to click on every single code and click to roll it down. Well, there is a faster way here. I'm just going to disable these two options for using Simple Scrub, just because I know I don't need to do this right now. I don't want them interfering with each other. So the Simple Scrub button on the bottom, this one, again, you do have to enable it. You click on the enable here. You can see that this gives you a full list of all sorts of different bits of data that you can touch here. We have project codes, UDFs, WBS UDFs, activity codes, so on and so forth. And the ones that can be rolled down, again, activity codes and calendars, actually have a little toggle here where you can simply click to roll them down. And when you toggle this on, it's going to apply that setting to every single activity code. It's going to apply this roll down to every single global calendar. So again, if you don't want to pick and choose, this might be a little bit faster here. The Simple Scrub, where you can just select to roll down or not to roll down. The other thing you can do in here, you might notice this little prefix section. What this prefix section allows you to do is, again, say you have some codes from your contractor coming in. Maybe you don't want to delete them. They could contain useful information, but you also want to make sure that those codes are not going to interfere with any codes currently existing in your dictionary. Say, for example, there's a division code. You know that you already have a division code that you're using yourself, but say your contractors might also have a division code. If a code has the exact same name in P6, P6 isn't going to identify that those are two different codes. It's going to merge them together, and then you're not going to know which ones are yours and which ones are the contractors, right? And that can be a bit of an issue. So maybe what you want to do here is you want to put a prefix on there that's going to tell, is going to, when you apply this, tell P6 that this is a new code. It's not going to have the same name anymore. It's going to have a little prefix in front of it. And that way P6 is going to identify that these are two different codes and keep them separate. You can use different codes in the P6 database to create a prefix. A client, we built this because a client of ours had unique codes for every single project that they had in their database, and they wanted to make sure that any codes, any project calendars, anything really associated, the UDFs, was that true? I think the UDFs as well, the project codes, the resources, the roles. They just wanted to make sure that anything associated with that project had a prefix in front of it that would tell them what project that had belonged to. So what we did here is we created the ability here to actually populate this from a code that already exists in the P6 database. So you can do that. Or you can type in the prefix that you want to add manually. So this project is called Elk Park Pass. I'm going to give this these activity codes the elk, just an elk prefix here. You select it by just clicking the bottom option. You'll see it allows you to type in whatever you want, or you can use those codes. When you click on the list, you're going to get a whole list of codes here. And you can select one of these codes, or we can type in, again, ELK. And that way it's just going to put this custom prefix that we have created onto any of those calendars, any of those activity codes here. It's also rolling them down. You see it with this toggle here. There are other options in here. For some of these, there is this hierarchy parent option. So look forward to seeing that in a future webinar. This allows you to do some remapping. And again, we will be showing that off, just not in this webinar specifically. And then once you're done, once you know what you want to do here, once you make sure that your option is enabled, then you can actually go, the first thing you need to do is save the definition. So to save a definition, what that means is your tool, you've configured the tool. Now you just want to save that. That way the tool has a profile created, and you're going to be able to apply this onto actual projects. So there's two ways of saving. If you see the little red save file, that is going to bring up your definitions. I have a definition here that I want to use, so I'm just going to select that. You can also use the Save As button to save a new one. I'm just going to use this Scrubber roll downs. I'm going to save this. I'm going to click Apply. I'm okay with overwriting it. It has the exact same features. I just saved it to make sure that in case something went wrong, I would have that profile. And now I'm ready to actually scrub a file. So now I've created the profile. That's what I was doing before. Now I'm ready to actually take that file and apply these changes onto the file. So I'm just going to select the exact same file that I used to create the definition. You don't have to use the exact same file. You just start with one file so that you get, the tool gets an idea of the codes that you might want to keep and might want to delete and might want to make changes to. After that, you can import any file, and the scrubber will apply those changes onto that file. So again, if you have a file from a contractor and you know you get that file every month, for example, you can take one of their files, create this profile, this definition, and once it's created and ready to use, every month you can load up that definition into the scrubber. You'll name it, based on the contractor or perhaps based on the project. And then whenever they give you a file, you can just take that file, plunk it in here with this little drag and drop or browse function. I'm just going to take the exact same file. You can add it in here. And when we click on the process, it's going to go and apply those changes into the file. The benefit, again, of this is, first of all, we can see all the information in the file before actually uploading it anywhere. And the other thing is we can make changes to this without, again, uploading it anywhere. So you don't have to go and pollute your database with all of this information that you can't see beforehand, and then have to make changes after the fact. You can make all the changes, you can see everything in here without it affecting your P6 database. So now I have my file, it's been created. I'm going to download the results. This does download in a compressed file. So in order to use it in P6, I'm just going to have to go and take that file and extract all. So I'll do that. And now that I have the unzipped file, I can go into P6 now, and I can import the file just using P6's native import functionality. Now we have also built a functionality into the tools. This is very new functionality, very exciting functionality, where you can take those folders, completely forego importing them manually, and just put them into a file folder. The scrubber will immediately identify what's in that file folder, automatically scrub it, and then automatically import it into your database. So that is new functionality. So keep an eye out for the webinar upcoming on that topic. We will have one. It's just not quite on the schedule yet. So for now, I'm just going to use the import functionality in P6. Going to go through the options here. I will select my file. I'm going to click next. I do not want to update my existing project. The reason it's saying this is just because this file was initially from this database. So it's seeing that there is a file with the same name, or a project with the same name. I'm going to say I want to create a new one just so that I don't overwrite my pre-existing one. I'm going to put it into this Scrubber webinar here. You're going to see there's no projects in there right now. I'm going to add this project in here. I'm going to click next. And it's just going to bring that project in as it would normally in P6. Just going to take a second. It's not a very large project. It shouldn't take too long. Come on. There we go. And it says the import was successful. So let's just go quickly take a look at this. All right, so these are project codes, and I didn't tell it to touch those, so we'll have left them alone. But let's open up that project and let's see what happened to the activity codes and the calendars in here. Okay, so if I get, here is my project. I'm just going to go and change the layout here. I have a layout specifically for this. All right, so if I go into these calendars, again, you're going to see that all of these have now been given this elk prefix that I asked the tool to give here. So again, when I scroll down, you can see all these calendars have been given that elk prefix. If I go and check to see whether these are project calendars or not in calendars here, I'm just going to toggle this. You can see that all of these calendars have been moved from global calendars to project calendars, and all of them have been given that prefix. With the activity codes here, with the exception of this week number. And the reason this week number code wasn't affected is because this is a code that we use. We just have some checks in the tool that check for this specific prefix because these are codes we use for functionality in other Emerald tools that we've built. With these other codes, you can see that the prefix was applied. It just didn't apply it to this one because, again, we have a check to make sure that we don't accidentally disable codes that are necessary for other tools to function. But any tool any code that doesn't apply to that has had that code and that prefix added onto here. And you can see in activity codes, when I switch to project here, we can see these codes have all been rolled down to that project level here. And again, given that little prefix with ELK discipline or ELK specs, ELK stage, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's how simple it is to roll down with our P6 scrubber tool. And again, I only showed you a few codes. If you have thousands and thousands of codes, or you have multiple calendars, great way to just do them all at once. And again, you won't be polluting your database by doing this. So I'm sure anyone who's done a lot of uploading and a lot of cleaning can see the potential here versus doing it manually. All right, I think that's it. I'll pass it back to Sue now.
Okay. I don't see any questions. So if you do have any questions, do place them in the chat, and we can answer those before we end our presentation here. So thanks, Val. We do have another upcoming webinar that is on December 2nd from 6 to 7, and that's Mountain Standard Time. If you're interested in keeping track of what webinars we're presenting or would like to join this one specifically, you can find that on our webpage. And it looks like, let's see, we have a question. So the question is the scrubber exclusive for web-based? Are you meaning web-based P6 or for the client? Because it doesn't matter either one as to what is going to it's going to affect, because it's going to be the database. So you could import into client, or you could go into the web version. The scrubber itself is in a web browser, so it does have a URL associated with it, and that would be how you would access that particular tool. So I don't see any other questions. If you'd like more information on P6 Scrubber, this functionality, or any of our other tools that we have available, feel free to reach out to Val. Her information is there on the screen. And if you are in the APAC part of the world, we do have a contact there. You can reach out to Donna. Thank you so much for, one more question that came in. Oh, you're welcome. Feel free to reach out to either one of these two if you'd like more information. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thank you, everyone.